Many blacks secretly want whites to speak the truth. Oh my gosh, this is so true. Many blacks secretly want whites to speak the truth. The black people are saying, white people, get your balls. What happened to you? You were our leaders. You did great. We had a wonderful society before the 1960s. We're not talking about segregation. We're talking about the morality and confidence white had to lead the way for peace in our society. And anyone who has a true intellect understands what I'm saying. If you are a mediocre and less intellect, you do not have understanding what I'm saying, and I cannot help you. I will continue. As for blacks, there are reasons to suspect that many of them would be secretly delighted if white America began to stand up for itself and denounce the current racial orthodoxy. These blacks know that this society was built by whites and that the current civil rights orthodoxy is a scam. They are disgusted by white liberals pretending not to see the bad news about racial differences, which the blacks themselves are all too aware of, and pretending not to care about their own self-interest as whites. The basic rule of race relations in post-1960s America is that whites must pretend not to see anything negative about blacks and must excuse all black failure and misbehavior by attributing it to white oppression. Since whites cannot be honest about their negative views of blacks, they are also incapable of having honest, positive feelings about blacks. Whites are refusing to deal with blacks authentically as human beings, and there are some blacks who know this. More than anything else, many blacks want the truth of their humanity recognized, both the bad and the good. But because whites won't tell blacks the bad truths, blacks can't believe any of the friendly things whites are also saying, and they are right not to. Blacks know they've been lied to through and through in these last 50 years. They know it, and it's disgusting on everyone's part, especially whites. Of course, this dishonest state of affairs is largely of the blacks' doing. It is the blacks who insist that their own failings be ignored. I would argue this is the black leadership that's failed. It is blacks who cry racism at any white who justly criticizes any black person or points out that unqualified blacks are being admitted to colleges. Yet at the same time, blacks are furious that whites aren't being authentic with them. Perhaps the real reason that American blacks are so angry is that they have been living a lie. But they've only been enabled to go on living a lie because whites have been their accomplices in it. If whites speak these truths only once and then retreat as soon as they are attacked as racist, then they are only confirming the anti-racist formula that the world is full of white bigots who must be silenced. The anti-racist script is only broken and blacks' real but unacknowledged need for white honesty satisfied when the white person doesn't retreat when attacked but stands firm by what he said. I'm going to repeat that. This is very important. If whites speak these truths only once and then retreat as soon as they are attacked as racist, then they are only confirming the anti-racist formula that the world is full of white bigots who must be silenced. That anti-racist script is only broken, and blacks' real but unacknowledged need for white honesty satisfied when the white person doesn't retreat when attacked, but stands firm by what he said. We need people such as myself and others out there to stand, speak these truths about whites and blacks and the lie permeated by leftist society about whites who are oppressing blacks. We need whites to stand firm and say, this is a lie, we are moral, you are all wrong, you are all immoral, you must shut up and bow to true morality, which is what we represent through our words. You must stand and not be questioning the truth of what you are saying. Before you speak, as in right after this video, you ponder yourself if this is true. Get it in your head that it is true, and then proceed undaunted, and take the flak, and be the leader for your society, all of them. Black, white, yellow, brown, blue. Everybody's ill. The society is deeply sick with a cancer. It's dying on a deathbed with IVs, and we need leaders to be the antidote to bring it to health. Behold all of our awards, our music, our culture, our news, our politics. It's all rancid because no one is standing up. No one's figured it out, and the people who have figured it out, the 5% of them, are scared. So we have a 0% fighting, and our cancer continues. This is the antidote. We need to have conviction and tell the world what the hell's going on here.
We invented science and industry, and you want to tell us to stop because, oh my God, we're so bad.
Video of the rant has now gone viral and is raising a lot of questions.
I knew there were racists on campus. I just didn't expect to meet one.
That's
personally.
not racist.
Students Qualain Felix and Blossom Maruafakwa were among those harassed by the young man who was identified by the university's campus newspaper as Julian Vanabel.
So how come this reporter is calling this young white male racist for standing up for what is right? And then this black girl, this is dumb as a doorknob, got there by affirmative action, not because she earned it. Why is she calling this white guy racist? She is the racist. Why is it that people of color can do it and say and act any kind of way they want, but white people can't? This is hate speech against white people. This is wrong. God bless this white student at Columbia University for speaking up. Finally, somebody is saying what I've been saying forever. If it wasn't for white people, there would be no America. The Indians didn't do it. The blacks didn't do it. If it wasn't for white people, there'd be no European. And so here's this black student blamed the Columbia curriculum for this white man speaking up.
While they did acknowledge a number of driving factors, both students feel his behavior is a byproduct of a curriculum at the university that tends to lean toward a Western European superiority.
What are they doing on, once again, institution level to ensure that there's narrative outside of Western European knowledge-based knowledge spreading, assuring that their students, the students of color can actually see themselves inside the curriculums?
Amazing. They're getting there by way of affirmative action, not because they love America. They want to change the curriculum because they want to promote their blackness. And when white people do it, it's hate speech. They start hate speech against whites. They call this young man a white supremacist because he's telling the truth. This is wrong. Absolutely wrong. This is hate speech against this young man. Columbia University denounces the white student racism on campus. This is not racism, it's racism against him, folks. It's a spiritual battle, a warfare between good and evil. Has nothing to do with male or female, has nothing to do with color, folks. Fallen state people believe it's about color, only if they're in a fallen state. But it's about spirit, right or wrong, good or evil. We're influenced by one or the other. In all honesty, this white student is right. He's telling the truth. Thank God he's standing up and telling the truth. If it wasn't for white people, there would be no America. If it wasn't for white people, the illegal aliens would not be trying to break into this country. And black people are not making it better. Illegal alien Mexicans are not making it better. It's white folks. Science and all that is white people. And I'm glad that this guy, Julian, is standing up. About time white people spoke up. And all this hate speech against you, let it roll off your back. This man, Julian, is of great courage. He's telling the absolute truth. And these black students are there only at Columbia University, only because of their color, not because they earned it. And then now that they are there based on black color, they want to change the curriculum. Black people, if you're not happy at these white schools, go to your own and mess up over there. No one cares. Julian, God bless you for telling the truth and standing against hate speech. Finally, a white student standing up. He says he loved white people, while people of color hound him.
We built modern civilization. White people are the best thing that ever happened to the world. We are so amazing. And I love myself. And I love white people.
Say that one more.
Yeah, white people.
Say it right here.
Yeah, white men. We're white men. We did everything. I don't hate other people. I just love white men. I just love white men. Oh, God.
Listen to the hate speech against him. What's wrong with him being white and loving white people? He doesn't hate all people, other people. He just loves white people. I love white people. I did a man on the street thing, and most of the blacks did not love whites. And this white guy going out and saying he loved white people, thank God, finally. So this is hate speech toward white people, folks. No such thing as white supremacy. That's hate speech. Why, when white people stand up for what is right, they call it supremacy. But blacks, when they do it, no problem. And this Columbia University is a cowardly university. going against this man for telling the truth to appease the black people who got there only because of affirmative action, not because they earned it. And they pretend they earned their way. What a shame. And Columbia University is wrong for denouncing this young man. This is not racism on campus. This is a young man telling the truth. And the blacks who are yelling and screaming in the background are lying. Thank God white people are speaking up. Remember, these people of color at your school, you didn't go to their school. And if they don't like it, they can leave. They're not earning their way anyway. How is the black people going to go there based on affirmative action only and tell you what you should say and what should not to say and what the curriculum should be? It's like somebody coming into your home telling you how to live. We write to you to unequivocally denounce a deeply disturbing, racially charged student. This is hate speech against a student, which includes painful language directed towards students of color in our community. Blacks can do it to whites, but whites can't do it to blacks. That's hate speech. The dean wrote, "We are alarmed at the rise of incidents of racism and hate speech in our world today." Hate speech is blacks against whites, folks. It's not the other way around. It is more important than ever that we continually demonstrate our core values and cave in to black people. She didn't say that. At Columbia, we stand firmly against white supremacy language and violence. First of all, that's hate speech toward this white guy. No such thing as white supremacy and no such thing as violence. They're making that up because they are hateful. All lies. Hate speech against this white fella. Thank God this white boy is standing up. And white people, if you stand up, they can't do anything about it.
We need to have conviction and tell the world what the hell's going on here.
There's a way for white Americans to fight back. Number one, stand up and speak up. Don't let someone else tell you what you can and cannot say. And if they try to stop you by degrading you or trying to get you away from your job, get you fired, fire back. Stand up and fight back. And when they see that you're not going to back down, I guarantee you they will back down, because those people don't really have power. They don't have any authority. If they can't intimidate you, if they can't put fear in you, then they end up losing. And we see that happening with the great white hope, President Trump, right now. They can't stop him because he doesn't have anger. It was like that when I was growing up. Men were men and women were women. They didn't have that kind of fear. So they stood up, they spoke the truth, they fought back, and this country was becoming great as a result of that. We started White History Month, right?
Yeah,
I started
that's right.
White History Month.
July, correct.
July is White History Month. And the reason that we started this year, July 2018, because white people are under attack. And they're not speaking up for themselves. They're not fighting back. They're not the same white people that built this great country. And I live in this country. I was born in this country. I was born on a plantation down in Alabama under the Jim Crow laws.
That's right.
And I am grateful for that. And it is my country. And so if we lose white history, we're going to lose America. And if we could have something called Black history, Chinese history, Mexican history, homosexual history, women history.
Yeah, it just goes and goes.
Why can't we have white history?
Yeah, that's
and
right.
we can if white people were bold enough to do it. So
Yeah.
it took a black man to do it. And I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do. And it's been overwhelming.
And sadly, white people look at you. You could say the same things that I say, and you won't be attacked for saying it because you're black. It's the simple truth. It drives me nuts, but it's the truth.
But I am attacked. I am attacked on a daily basis,
By
especially by black,
your own or by everyone.
By black people,
Yeah.
white liberals, and I'm radical homosexuals. I'm called Uncle Tom, sellout, the N-word. They threaten my life. I get it on a daily basis, but I don't care. I love what's right. I love my country. I tell people all the time, I am not an African American. I don't have an afro. I have an Amerifro. There are no African drums beating in my chest. The American guitar is playing in my heart. Born on a plantation in Alabama, black as the ace of spades, but 100% American. And I'm not going to let these people just take my country because they call me names or threaten me.
I do think it's okay, though, to embrace, originally your ancestors are from Africa. mine are from Russia, from Europe. So I think it is good to remember your roots and embrace them, but that doesn't mean that we have to automatically fight over it.
That's right. Well, my roots started in Alabama, and I definitely remember it. But I don't remember anything about Africa. I couldn't find my way there if I had to. And when I get there, they're going to call me an American. They're not going to call me African. And anyone who called themselves an African American or a Mexican American and they were born here, they're an idiot. They need help very bad.
So I have to ask, this race situation is just escalated. It's just through the roof. It's just insane, How do we solve this problem, specifically between the history of blacks and whites in America? Do you think that there are any groups in particular who have agitated blacks or planted seeds in their mind to hate white people? What are your thoughts?
Without a doubt, because I had that when I had anger, I believed it to the lie once I moved to L.A. at the age of 18 because I wasn't taught that in Alabama at all. But when I moved to L.A., I believed into the lie that white people were holding me back, and they was holding me back because I was racist. And the people who were pushing the lie was the so-called civil rights leaders, Jesse Jackson, Louis Farrakhan, Al Sharpton, the NAACP, most of the black preachers, the liberal white godless media and the liberal white godless Democratic Party, and some of the rhino Republicans. And when you hear that growing up over and over and over and over again, and no one is there to say they're lying to you, you tend to believe in that lie. And because we live by faith, whatever you believe in control you. And so I believed into that lie at one point, and it wasn't until I started to examine things and question, well, if white people are holding me back and I'm black, why is it that they're not holding the race hustlers back? And that's when I realized I had been lied to. But yes, they're definitely pushing that. And Obama pushed it like no other president in the history of America.
Yeah, exactly.
The fallen Messiah was the worst of the worst, the most weakest, evil, radical, socialist, lying, pathetic, poor excuse of a man and poor excuse of a president we ever had. And he divided the races like no one has ever done in the history of America.
And he's half white, which is kind of funny.
I know.
I've actually heard from blacks who lived in the Jim Crow era that they said that blacks actually did better back then than now. I mean, you've lived through it. What are your thoughts on that? And I know you've also critiqued the civil rights movement. What's your biggest critique on that?
I 100% agree that blacks did better under the Jim Crow laws than they do with freedom now. And the reason for that, for the most part, blacks were immoral people. We were not told that the white man was evil and he hates you because you're color and trying to hold you back. With the Jim Crow laws, we were told that it was the government. It wasn't all white people because there were white people who were not for that. It was the government and it was the Democratic government, the Democrats who were doing that. Blacks got married rather than having children out of wedlock for the most part. Abortion was unheard of. Unheard of. We bought land. Blacks bought land. They educated themselves in their own schools. They came back as professionals. They thought for themselves. They didn't think in groups. They didn't think like they were a tribal group. They thought as individuals, and that way they were able to determine right from wrong for themselves. And now all of those things are gone. Blacks no longer get married for the most part. Black women who are born in America, 77% of their children are born out of wedlock. Abortion through the roof. They hate white people. They hate the Mexicans. They hate the Jews. They hate the Arabs. They hate everybody and their mama. And they're blaming everybody for their problems because they are not a moral people. Not all. But most black people are suffering not because of this phony idea of racism, but due to the destruction of the family and the lack of moral character. There is no such thing as racism. It has never existed. It's a made-up lie. It's an illusion. There's no such thing as racism, sexism, homophobia-ism, Islamophobia-ism. No isms. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It has nothing to do with male or female. It's either right or wrong, good or evil.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a great family. I don't think of myself as an angry, bitter person. But when I think of what's happening to our countries and European countries and how they're under attack, of course I'm going to be angry. I'm alive. If your lands are being invaded and your people are being brainwashed you're going to be a little pissed off, though, right?
No, well, you should discern, but not be angry. You should see evil, but not be angry at what you see, because evil will overtake you and it will control you. But you discern it without the anger. So see evil, speak up, but don't hate. And in honesty, when you really think about it, white people can't blame the people of color for taking over their countries and running them out, because it's white people who are allowing it to happen.
Sure, yeah. White and
People
Jewish.
can-
Yes. Yes.
People cannot do to you what you don't allow them to do. And white people, especially white men, have clearly displayed fear over the last 60 or 70 years in this country, and in European countries. They have displayed anger. They try to appease the people of color instead of being honest with them and speaking up to them and dealing with them. Whites have a false sense of guilt, as though they're really responsible for what's wrong with the people of color.
Yeah.
And so as long as white people have that false sense of guilt and that appeasement personality, they will always lose. It's never going to change until they turn away from that.
Sure, yeah, it's an inner thing. Now, have you thought about the root origin, if there's any group that's programming, or the inception point of kind of the fall of white people, this self-hating the self-hating attitude that we have, allowing our countries to be destroyed? Have you thought about that, where that inception point is, or if there's a particular group that's maybe put those ideas in someone's head?
Well, from what I can tell, and it may have started prior to that, but it started 60 or 70 years ago, and maybe a little longer, when the liberals, both black and white, started to take over. And that includes liberal whites, liberal Jews, liberal blacks, liberal Mexicans, whomever's in charge, and they are liberals because they're not of God. This whole deception started way back then, because you have to realize, I call the liberals the children of the lie, and their father is Satan. And so their job is to deceive, to destroy. And that's what they have been working on, and they have done it by destroying the family, removing the man from his home, and leaving the wife there with the children. And it's easy to deceive and take over the lives of women and children. But it started, I know, for black people about 60 or 70 years ago, and it could have been going on longer than that. But it's anyone who is a liberal, because their father is Satan, and their job, they're doing what they're supposed to do, to deceive and destroy.
Yeah, I'd say probably a lot of Marxists. The Frankfurt School, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. A lot of cultural Marxists who have really took over the institutions in America after World War II. I think that's when things really started going downhill in America.
Well, it definitely happening in our public schools educational system for sure. And that's why I believe that parents who send their children to these universities and to the public schools don't love their kids, because they know that this is happening, but they send them anyway. And I've talked to some white folks on my radio show who are sending their kids to these inner city schools, these public schools, and their white kids are getting beat up and abused every day. And instead of the parents taking them out, they keep sending them back, and they're doing it because they want to appease the blacks and the Hispanics. They're trying to prove to them that they're not so-called racist, not realizing that these people hate them for their color, and they blame them because they think that white people are the ones that holding them back. I don't know why white folks will continue to sacrifice their children generation after generation.
So what should they do? You said put their foot down. Of course, I absolutely agree with that.
Take them out.
Should take them out. Should they be deporting people from their countries? Should they be moving somewhere else? Should they be separating? What should we be doing from your point of view?
Several things. That's a good question. I would immediately take my kids out of the public schools so I can protect them from evil. Then I would work to get the illegal aliens, those people who should not be here, deported. Right away, send them back to wherever they came from, and then put a big, beautiful wall around the borders so that they can't come back. And if they should come back, arrest them and send them back. And then change the laws where if we gotta have people in, I think that we need to shut it down totally so we can clean up the house first and then rethink how to do that. And then if they got to do it, bring in people who are decent, who believes in our morals and our values, who want to assimilate, not bring their S-hole country ideas here. We need to be very careful who we let in, but we got to clean up the mess first.
We need to have conviction and tell the world what the hell's going on here.